Hello, my name is Andy Slania, a customer success manager here at Prodly. I'm going to take a few minutes to walk you through the basics of how to build a custom data set within the AppOps Release app. The goal of this video is to build a custom data set to deploy sample account records with related contact and opportunity records. We will also perform a deployment from a production org to a new developer sandbox. This is a common use case for our customers when using AppOps Release in order to give developers and admins some test data when spinning up a new sandbox to build new solutions. We will focus on a simple Sales Cloud data set in this video. However, custom data sets can be utilized in your org for other use cases. You could build and deploy custom data sets to govern configuration records for managed packages or custom apps, to deploy any other data between your orgs, or for org merges and splits. After you have installed the AppOps Release app and set up OAuth connections to deploy data between your Salesforce orgs, go into the Datasets Home tab and click New to create a new dataset from scratch. The first tab in your dataset, Element Details, controls object-level settings for your deployment. Start by adding a name and a description to help identify your dataset. For deployment object, choose the root object associated with the records to be deployed. For this example, we will start with account as the root object. Next, choose your upsert method. If you are deploying data into a new development sandbox that does not have any data yet, it is recommended to use virtual external ID. Next, click Record Selection Criteria. In this section, you can create a query to deploy only specific records, which is controlled using the Query Filter field. For our example, we only want to deploy records that have the word test in the name field. If you want to bring over account records where the name is test, specify this query. If you want to bring over account records where the name contains test, specify this query. The record selection limit field can be used in tandem with Query Filter. For example, if you have 100 test accounts in production but only want to bring over 5 of those 100 accounts, you could keep your query and type the number of records you would like to deploy. Two settings that may be needed for a basic sandbox seeding use case are create missing fields and sync pick list values. If you have fields or pick list values that are in your production org but not in your sandbox, AppOps Release can bring the fields and pick list values over as part of the deployment. The second tab in your dataset, Object Fields, controls the field level settings for the object specified in your deployment. By default, AppOps Release will deploy the values of all fields associated with an object. If there are fields that are not to be considered, uncheck Copy All Fields, then deselect the fields which are not to be deployed. In addition to object level settings, AppOps Release allows for customizations to fields in the dataset. To control this, navigate to a field and select the gear icon. Some basic customizations you could make for fields include set empty, which enters a blank value in this field for all records in your deployment. Scramble value will anonymize the values in your field to protect any sensitive data. Fixed value will set a specific value for all records in your deployment. For example, if you want all accounts to be changed to, say, test account in your destination, this setting will allow you to do that. Prefix value and postfix value will add text before or after the value in your source. For example, if you want each account to say test before the account name in your destination, the prefix value will allow you to do that. The third and fourth tabs in your dataset, Parent Relationships and Child Relationships, allow you to choose related records to be deployed in addition to the root object in your dataset. Within Parent Relationships, this allows you to bring over any parent records prior to the root object in your dataset. For example, if your test accounts have a parent account that you also need to deploy, select the relationship, and AppOps Release will deploy the parent account records before deploying the test account records specified in the query filter within the object details. Within child relationships, this allows you to bring over any child relationship records after the root object in your dataset. Our use case in this video is to seed development sandboxes with sample account, contact, and opportunity records from a production org. Therefore, we will bring over 2 child relationships in this step. First, select contact. Next, select opportunity. You will notice the order field now appears to establish an order to deploy child relationships. This is an optional field and does not need to be set for this use case. Since you are deploying opportunity records, there may be additional relationships to be deployed, such as opportunity contact role or opportunity product. Since we're deploying opportunity product, we probably need to ensure the product is being deployed as well as any price book entries. Deploying these related records in sequence as part of nested relationships can be easily completed in AppOps Release with a few clicks. For our example, click the opportunity link. Object and field level settings for opportunity will appear. Click Child Relationships to select both the opportunity contact role and opportunity product. Next, click on Opportunity Product. Navigate to Parent Relationships. Select the price book entry ID as well as product. We now have 3 nested relationships as part of our use case. To see a visual mapping of all object relationships in this dataset, we will navigate to the diagram view. Start by clicking Save. The diagram view will be rendered based on the last saved changes to the dataset. Access the view by selecting the Display As icon underneath Save, then click Diagram. The diagram view allows you to double-click into a specific relationship to verify any object or field level settings. Now that we have our data set built for seeding accounts, contacts, and opportunities, it's time to deploy from production into your sandbox. Click on Deploy. Specify your source org, which is production, followed by your destination org, which is your sandbox. If you have a need to seed multiple sandboxes at one time, you could choose up to 5 destinations as part of your deployment. When your source and destination have been set, click on Deploy, and AppOps Release will start the deployment. You will receive an email when your deployment is started, as well as a confirmation email when your deployment is finished. There are 2 tabs as part of your deployment results. Deployment Activity gives a step-by-step overview of confirmation, warning, or error messages during the deployment. Deployment Results gives an overview of the objects deployed and any record failures occurred during your deployment. If you do have record failures, the best way to analyze is by going bottom up. Navigate to the row where the failure occurred and click View Results. Navigate to the Deployment Record Results section and click on the Deployment Record Result name. The deployment record result will show the ID and web link of the record in the source and the corresponding ID and web link of the record in the destination. If there is no destination link, that means there was a data record failure. The majority of data record failures encountered are due to licensing, permissions, or validation issues in the destination org. Even if the message seems to say otherwise, the issue is usually one of these items. Ensure the connection user has create and edit permissions for all objects in your datasets. Use event control to turn off automations in the destination if needed. If you are deploying records in the Salesforce CPQ managed package, make sure to disable CPQ triggers before deploying and enable again afterwards. So to summarize, we have built out a custom dataset which can be reused across any of the Salesforce orgs in your landscape, performed the deployment into a sandbox, and verified the results of the deployment, all in about 10 minutes time. If you have any questions about the content seen in this video, feel free to reach out to us at any time by visiting prodly.co or within the community at success.prodly.co. Thanks for taking time to learn more about Prodly and the AppOps platform.